Welcome everyone to Leading the Way in RVA. My name is Casey Long and I'm the host of this podcast as well as the owner of Fulfilled Coaching and Consulting. The whole purpose of this podcast is twofold. First is to introduce you to inspiring leaders around the greater Richmond area and to be inspired by them. And second is to dive into different leadership topics so that you might walk away with some tactical, simple tips that you can take to develop yourself further as a leader. The structure of these sessions is, first and foremost, we'll be having guests, inspiring leaders, and we'll be taking the first half of the session to learn more about them, their journey, and their lessons learned that's brought them to where they are today. And then the second half of this 30-minute episode, we'll dive into a leadership topic of the guest's choice, and we'll chew on it and see what comes out of it. And then we'll always close out with our guest nominating other leaders here in the greater Richmond area that they're inspired by, in the hopes that those will be future guests on the show. So without further ado, if you live here in the greater Richmond area and you happen to ever go into 5807 or Tweed, both classic gift shops here in the area, you more than likely are familiar with the co-founder and CEO of the brand, Keva. So you can see I've got the earrings on today. These lightweight leather fashionable earrings are part of the Keva brand. And the co-founder and CEO of this organization is the one and only Ginny Ball. So Ginny and I have only officially met once. We're both Midlothian moms, but probably about a year or so ago, Ginny, I was in an organization with my daughter where we got to come to an event at your Midlothian location. And you spoke just for a few minutes, and some of the things that you said just resonated for me. So they stuck with me, and that's what made me think of you when I was thinking about inspirational leaders here in the community. And then we actually got to officially meet on the sidelines of a MAA football game. So here we are today. But I'm going to turn it over to Ginny. Ginny would love to just hear a little bit more about you and your journey and what's brought you to being the CEO and co-founder of Keva.
Oh, well, thank you, Casey, so much for having me. We have a lot of mutual friends, and I've heard so many lovely things. I'm so proud of you for the journey that you're doing right now, because I think that first step, well, it's been a couple years for you, but that first step is always the scariest and the most challenging. And once you can kind of take over that hurdle, it's exciting. My name is Ginny Ball. I am one of the co-owners of Keva. We are a local lifestyle brand. My business partner, Eva, and I have been working together now for 6 years. We started the year before COVID, so we've been really managing and building our business in really challenging times.
The year before COVID.
Yes, yeah. It was, you look at in retrospect and it was a really challenging time, but it also gave us this moment of where we were able to work for ourselves and also manage all of the responsibilities that we had with young kids and a lot of uncertainty. And so, there's always like retrospect, I think, as you go through things in life. I am born and raised here in Chesterfield County. My dad was in the military and ended up here in Richmond, worked for the banks, I was now Bank of America. And so really have like strong roots here in the area. I went to college here in like Southwest Virginia at Radford, and then moved up to the DC area after college. It was kind of like one of those hubs where a lot of friends end up going to. So lived in Arlington and Alexandria and had a marketing degree from Radford. So was trying to figure out kind of what to do and worked for a marketing company up there. And really kind of very quickly got into more of like account management, sales. And I never realized, again, you go back to retrospect on like, and I kind of always had jobs or roles, even growing up, that was connected with me kind of working independently, being self-employed, or having these like small little businesses, whether it was making jewelry and walking around my neighborhood and selling it to plant sitting and dog sitting and babysitting and
Plant sitting.
that was a thing. I
I
had this like really amazing neighbor who had lots of plants, and I can't keep them alive now, but I at that time in life I was much more focused, I guess. But I got into this industry, which is I didn't even know existed, and I think that's one of my biggest goals. We're going to talk later on leadership, but just, you really like exposure to things. And we have this opportunity, all of us in the world have an opportunity to expose people to other things. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, worldly, like expensive things. It could literally be like, hey, here's an opportunity. This is a business, or this is an idea, or this is, a profession that you could potentially have. My dad was an auditor for a bank, and my mom was a nurse. And so they had very traditional jobs. We still joke about it because my dad was like, I was an accounting major at Radford for like accounting 101 I was good with. Accounting 101.
You were an accounting
for
major.
Yes, wow. For like, no, I wouldn't say that, like, it was like for till 102, and I was like, okay, this is not for me. I was like, this is not, okay. But my dad was like, that's how you make money, is like, you kind of, in his head, he was like, this is how you're going to be successful. And
so wait, your dad had kind of said like, this is the path to go, and you were in it, and you realized like, this is not.
Yeah, this is not me. Like, yes. I am not. And even now, I just I have to like Google how to do some of Ryan's math homework, and he's in 6th grade.
Oh, so don't even ask me.
It's like,
don't even ask me to help.
I'm like, I have no idea. And then I'm trying to like, okay, how do you apply this to real life? Because sometimes I'm like, I'm not sure exactly why you need to know this information, but parking lot that. Let's just get through your homework.
Yes.
But, one thing I learned about that was, and so I ended up going into like the marketing side of business, and
very different from accounting.
Correct. But you had that business background and management and all the different courses that you have to take in that. But my favorite course, which I remember, was professional selling. And I had this great teacher who was also like a mentor and a, what do you call it? Like not a counselor, but I guess a mentor. A mentor in college. And he taught professional selling, and you had to go and find something to sell to him. And that was like basically your whole grade. And I ended up going to this like hair salon that was local, and there was probably like one at Radford, small, but and she let me borrow like some of her books to do hair color dye or something. And I was like, I still remember this, and this was like 25 years ago. And I was like, I think there's just, growing up, you're just something, you don't know exactly what that is, and it takes you into like this curvy road. But sales has always been something that has interested me, and that, I'm good at, and I think it's just because I like to talk to people, and I like to ask questions, and I like to learn. And, you can talk to and connect with people, regardless of where they are in life. And, I just think that's, I wouldn't have probably said that like a while ago, of you just learn, kind of grow confidence in like certain areas. Like, I'm still not great in finance, so I'll like take that, but there is like connecting with people is probably one of my strongest strengths as a person and a leader. But I got connect. So this, going back to like, putting, being exposed to different things. We didn't grow up going to like small independent retail stores. That wasn't necessarily a thing. We would go, maybe when we were in Outer Banks, we'd go shopping in Duck, or we'd go to Carytown every once in a while, but it wasn't like a big part of like our family life. I don't think, it was just different back then. And so this industry, the home and gift industry, I didn't even know it existed until a friend of mine, like a friend of a friend from college, was like, hey, my boss's best friend is looking for a sales rep in Virginia. And I was like, oh, what is it? And she goes, you just sell like cute things. And I was like, what? What is
Sell
this?
cute things.
Yeah. And I met this girl, her name's Jada. And I met Jada, who ended up being my boss and a great mentor and friend over the years. And she showed me this beautiful catalog. And she's like, basically your territory is Virginia, and you drive around and you go in, we give you a customer list and you go in, like, sell these products, and here's some samples. And it was very like, okay, this is, I guess, yeah, I can do this. I think, I ended up, my parents were kind and like bought me my fax machine. Because that's how you like write orders. And I was like, thanks mom and dad for like setting me up, because I had a fax. So they bought me my fax machine, and I had to buy a computer. And, when you're 24 years old and living up in living in Arlington at the time, that was a big expense to like buy your own computer. And, and to, had to get a new car because I was driving like a Cabrio, which was super cute, but not very functional driving far. So I got my Honda Accord and became like a little truck driver around Virginia. But really was like, that was in 2004, which I remember just because that was when I got my Honda. So there's like, cars, like sometimes it's like when kids were born, it's like your day you remember. But so 2004, like I started this kind of journey, an entrepreneurial journey, because even though I was working for a company, when you work for yourself, and I've realized never actually worked for a company where I had like a straight salary. Like I've always had that kind of roller coaster of like having good months, having great months, having, okay, I'm glad I saved because of this. And so that kind of financial insecurity has always been a part of my journey, which is not easy sometimes, but it's just what I've chosen, I guess, as my path. And so I was a sales rep for a couple years, and then quickly became like, I knew I wanted to do more managing sales teams. And so I became a sales manager, regional manager, and I worked for the territory. I was still repping. I was still the rep for Virginia, but then managed the Midwest territory, because that was probably like the least producing territory or district at the time. So I started working with them, and it was great. It was, I had a great team. There's 8 women. I was probably 20 years younger than all of them, but I always had this boss that told me one time, lead by example. Like that's why we keep
model the way.
Yeah. That's why you're still a rep. Like that's why I still had my own territory, so I could really understand what the reps and what my team was going through, because I was doing the exact same thing along with like managing and guiding them and inspiring them.
So you were producing while also leading.
Yeah.
So you were juggling
both, which it was a lot, but it was at a time where I was, single, then dating my now husband, and so no kids. So it was like, that was, your prime time of like working and traveling and being able to have that, kind of drive there. And then moved into like, I moved into like the Mid-Atlantic territory manager. And that was like the best that was the best district to have, because, there was a lot of great specialty business, like South Carolina, North Carolina to New Jersey. So that area it was great. And I remember there was one like sales meeting that was out in San Diego, and I was like the sales rep of the year and the district of the year, which was like the 2 best awards you could give or receive or earn, or whatever the word is. And kind of looked, and I just I soaked in that moment, because I was like, all right, what is like, all right, I did that. So now what's next?
Yes. You like reached the vision. That you had for
what do you do next?
You're at the top of the mountain.
I know. And you're like, I'm not done. I'm like 30 years old at the time. And so was there one of my, I think, say it's not a downfall. One of my, I probably stay longer at places than I'm I'm not than I'm supposed to. And that was probably one opportunity where it was like, okay, I was there for another year. I remember sitting literally in the sales meeting for the next year, and I was like, okay, I'm ready. like, I know that I'm ready for a change. And so I stayed in the industry. I worked for, there's really nowhere else for me to go in my company. I couldn't, unless I were to move up to New York where the headquarters were. And so I got connected through one of my retailers that I worked with, a company out of California, and it was a much smaller company. You go from like this like New York corporate type of business to a husband and wife in Sonoma that is just, they have 10 employees, and it was all very, a really great brand, strong brand, but very small team. I was, again, the youngest, by, 15 years, from everybody on that company, and, we laugh at, Ryan, my son, was the first baby to be born. So we didn't have like maternity leave, or there was no like any kind of structure like that, with the company. And so being a part of that, my boss though, the owner, he was like such an amazing person. He gave me so many opportunities to kind of take the wheel over the direction of like their sales strategy and marketing strategy and branding and building out their sales team, and just really allowed me to like network and kind of be the face of their brand. It
was like grooming you for where you are today.
I know. It was such a gift. I treasure that time. It was also, you go, and it was like another chapter of life. It was like I had my son, and we were building a sales team. We just had launched this huge collegiate collection, which was, we did like hand embroidered pillows and tea towels. It was all geography related.
Oh, yes.
And then we, and I remember sitting in this, I was in California, I was sitting in this meeting, and we were like, we have to do colleges. Like, my parents are big Ohio State fans, Buckeye fans. And I was like, we have to do this. Like, like it's going to do well. Like, our art is so perfect for, celebrating these different places. And the like operations manager is like, it's too much paperwork. Like, it's never going to get done. I don't have time. And I was like, Terrell, I will do it. And that's kind of my personality too, is just like, all right, let's just do it. It's not that hard. You literally just have to fill out some paperwork. And like, and you don't think of that word as something that you are. But so thank you for telling me that. Cause I kind of you're like, no, I'm just a doer. Like, it's not that hard. And it became probably I would say like, I don't say biggest accomplishment for work, but it was like one of those things I'm most proud of, because when I see it out in the world, it's just like that never would have happened if it wasn't for me and for Terrell, like having that kind of conversation and like, all right, let's just do this. And, now you can find it in retail stores all over the country. And, we did a project with the Masters and like some really cool things,
so cool.
Through just kind of not taking no for, an answer. So, but also had, then was, I can keep talking. So I'm like,
I think this is the perfect pivot. Cause I think like we're at this cliffhanger. Like, you got to the top of the mountain with being the top sales advisor. You next end up at this smaller company where you're like being groomed. And we know that now that you're a co-founder and a CEO. So I don't know if this is in line with the topic that you were bringing, but I think like making the leap to become an entrepreneur is one of the greatest testaments of being a leader, right? And so it feels like with our remaining time, we could go down that path, unless there's another path that you want to go down.
Well, I think you're right. I think there's these pivotal times in life that happen. And when my daughter was born, my kids were 2 years apart, I just realized that I couldn't continue on the same path. I couldn't continue red eyes to California and it was just too much. Like, I wanted to be home on a Saturday morning to watch my kids play soccer. I wanted to be at these places in life that I couldn't be at, both mentally, physically, like emotionally, all these things, because it just, things change. And I got connected with Eva, who was through a mutual friend. Again, it's like your it's so cliche, but it's like your network is your net worth. It's so true. The more people,
Network is your net worth. I love that.
So it's like, because it's just people thinking about you outside of the room. And we got connected through our mutual friend, Allison. And Allison is, we still like thank her all the time in marketing materials and just in our story, because if it weren't for her, we would have probably have not realized that what we both, what Eva was looking for, what I was looking for, and how we could join forces. And that's really where Keva came alive. We are always focused on like family first, which is very hard as a small business owner to not be overwhelmed by everything that has to be done, because we're like a small and mighty team. Everything is going to kind of filter through Eva and myself. We're very grateful and thankful for the team that we've been able to build over the years. But when it comes down to it, it's still, I think that's probably the biggest challenge of being an entrepreneur is like you have, and it doesn't, I laugh because I have a lot of friends in the industry that different, revenue goals every year, different things, but a lot of the things that we are thinking about are the same things that other companies that are much larger are thinking about. There's just like extra zeros at the end of it, a decision that, like Apple is thinking about. It's the same conversations that we're having. They're financial
scale,
yeah, just as it's all the same principles. And so I think, one of the things, Keva, I think, so I go to family, and then the second is really being a platform for other people. And that I'm, going back into looking back, that literally is part of being a leader, is when you can, pass the ball to somebody else for them to take the shot, but you're giving them that space to like take that shot. And I tell that to my kids all the time. And I look at Keva and myself in this chapter of life as like, not to get emotional, but just that, you have these kids that you're trying to, you want them to grow up to be like amazing and to get, sorry.
Okay.
No, it's just, but that's to me what Keva is about. It's giving myself, my business partner, anyone that's in our little world, the space that they, to grow and to, be who they want to be, and just expose them to things. We are really big on Eva, and her team is all very flexible with like, the women that come in to work. Some will come in at 5:30 in the morning and work till 9. And then they get their kids off to school, and then they might come in for a few other hours, or they may just do, we're just very flexible with that, because, there's a lot of women that want to work, but that just also need flexibility with like their home life. And, they might be single moms, or they might be, my kids are getting older and I have to pay for college in a few years, and I need to, or they took a break and they, are now, older, and they're like, how do I get back into work? And
what I'm loving about this, Ginny, is what I'm hearing is your value of family is what led you to make the leap, the big, scary, courageous leap to do your own thing. Because you're like, I'm not going to miss my kids' soccer games. I'm not going to do that anymore. And then it makes me emotional too, because you took what was so important to you and built a business around that, right? So we could have a whole nother conversation with like working moms and like this pivotal moment. Like when I had my second child too, was when I was like, holy moly, if I'm going to keep working, I'm going to do what I love. And that's got to be aligned to my values. And we could talk all day about the tension of like running a business while honoring family and all of those things too. But at the heart of it, I think what's beautiful is that you took the leap to honor a value of family, and now you've created a community and a culture that honors it. beyond just you.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
I know. And it's just kind of this full circle moment. We, when Keva first started, we were really focused on our wholesale business, and we're in, over the last, we're in have been in 600 stores across the country, in Canada and Mexico and some stores in Europe, but we've also realized okay, when we moved into our new studio space in Midlothian, it gave us this opportunity to plant some roots here physically, where we now have a retail space. We can host community events, fundraisers. People can walk in and see the product. We're a pickup location for a local bakery, for a woman who does their organic lotions. I mean, we're just and so we've really kind of circled back to our community and
your values. So this has been a theme so far, and so many of the conversations I've had is and myself included, is we focus so much on the dollar that we need to make or the reach that we have to have, and then we realize there's more to it. It's more about, to really build something that's going to thrive, is to focus on the values of that, which for you, I'm hearing family and community. And that's why you resonated so much with me when I met you, because I too have similar values of family and community and connection. So I'm so glad that you've taken time out of your schedule between family and the business to be here with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. This was really great.
Yeah. So what would be your one or two tactical tips for folks that are maybe thinking about going out on their own or pursuing this entrepreneurial journey?
I think one is what Nike says, just do it. I think that's part of it. I think we can get into our head of all the things that have to get done. And the first thing literally is to just start, baby steps. I'm a list person, so write a list. If it's overwhelming, you think you have all these things that you have to do, literally just write a list and start. Don't use your write it. Don't use your computer. Don't use your app. Just write it down. And then you can literally check it off, cross it off. I just had this I'm not a teacher of planners, but my kids were both I have so much homework. I'm write it down and cross it off when you're done. It makes you feel good. There's something about crossing it off that makes you feel powerful and productive. I think surrounding yourself with people who lift you up and that are going to be cheerleaders for yourself. I think that's huge. It feels good to be around people that are going to make you better as a person. And then I think the third one, it goes back to just it's a roller coaster. And I remember my first Jada, who I mentioned earlier, she said, just stay even, as much as you can, don't go up and down, because there's good days, bad days, and you just have to, there's no real end to entrepreneurship. There's no, I wish I could say oh, my to-do list is done. There's always something you can be doing. And so, which is challenging. So one is give yourself space to whether it's going on walks or going out to dinner with a friend or, your husband or whoever. It's just giving yourself some mental breaks, but just try not to ride the roller coaster too much, because it can be draining.
Good reminder. And sometimes you can step off the roller coaster and take a break to get back on so that you continue to enjoy it.
Yes.
Oh, well, thank you. And always we close out the session with hearing from you. Who are a few leaders here in the greater Richmond community that inspire you?
One, you're really great because you say things and I'm oh yeah, I guess connections and family they're just part of my values. And the two people I would recommend, Margaret Thompson, she is the founder of Richmond Family Magazine. That's a great publication it goes back to being a platform for storytelling and for other local businesses, which is one of the core values for Keva. And so we're just naturally drawn to people like Margaret who are telling really amazing stories about our community. and Jill Chickowitz, who is my childhood best friend. We grew up together. She is also the founder of To End the Stigma. She is started a nonprofit. Unfortunately, under sad circumstances, her brother passed away from fentanyl poisoning 9 years ago, and she talk about perseverance, really took that moment of like, okay, I don't want this to happen to other families. And this was before people even knew, like fentanyl wasn't even a word that people were using.
Yeah.
And now you hear it on the news all the time. And there's a whole campaign for like one pill can kill, that our kids, are in it's happening in middle school and high schools and colleges all over. So she's really created a space, and it's the organization's To End the Stigma, because it's a stigma associated with that disease. And she really wants to help educate people on talking about it so that people can get the help that they need. So family and community are both really important to Margaret and Jill. And I think that's probably why I love them and part of my
shared values.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank
it's been
you.
such a pleasure getting to know you better. I look forward to hanging out more.
I know. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.